This is Andi Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and I'm delighted to be joined by Willie Monroe Jr. over Zoom. Willie, how are you?
How you doing, bro? Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you giving up some time. Obviously it's Sunday, so I imagine this is what I imagine would be rest day for you. So what are you up to at the minute?
Yeah, absolutely.
What are you up to at the minute, Willie?
I'm just chilling, man. I actually came out to the store to grab a couple things from my wife. It's Sunday, so we're cooking. And like I told you before, I was a little tardy getting on the call because I had to set up the Wi-Fi in my car so I could be able to talk to you from here while I was making running errands for the wife and kids.
Are you a good chef, Willie?
I mean, I'm not as good as my wife, but the kids love my cooking. My family loves my cooking.
Willie, let's obviously get on to the boxing talk now. It's been over 2 years since you was last in the ring. What is the latest with yourself? Last time when we spoke, your name was in kind of the hat for a potential Canelo fight.
Yeah, I don't know, man. From what I heard, is like, it's people in the game that's like sort of like, bitter over past business. So they're sort of like trying to make sure I don't get certain fights from what I've heard. But I got a strong team with Split T that's really out there pushing and making sure things happen. So I got to say thank you to Ryan Recton and Split T. But I've heard little chatter about some past people who are like a little heard about the past, and it's just like, hey, the past is the past, let the past in the past. I think the thing is like, if a fighter outsmarts a situation, you know what I mean, that makes these guys kind of angry, you know what I mean, and they sort of want to put you in your place. But the fans gonna talk. The fans gonna talk.
I mean, Willie, for the time being, what are you currently working on to try and get back out?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I said, man was signed with Split T, man, and you know what I mean, with the moves that they're making, and then with Triller, and and that's another big thing, where we are, these people have no power with Triller. So, what I mean, where I am, my people have power with Triller, so it's opening up doors on that side. So it's a blessing.
Are there any names in particular who you're looking at now, Willie, who you are negotiating with at all?
Nah, not at the moment, man. We do have an opponent that Ryan and Split T were talking about as far as the next Triller card. We're just waiting for a yes from them, and then we'll make things happen. But as far as like a name that you guys would like know or pick out of a hat, not really. The only person that I was really, like over the last 2 years, because obviously my name has been thrown in that hat a couple of times, was Canelo. And the reason, like, obviously any fighter would want that fight. That's the lottery. You can't, you can't sit here and say, oh no, I would never want that fight. Like, hell yeah. What? Yes, I want that fight. And I think the biggest reason I want it is I'm like a daredevil, right? I'm one of those guys, bet big, win big. You know what I mean? And like I said, back in 2016, you guys know the story. They put me in the ring with Gabe Rosado. They called me on like a 3-week notice to fight this guy for a 12-round fight on HBO. And they were so confident that I was gonna get beat that they threw Canelo in the mix. And like, oh yeah, Canelo needs an opponent for December, so the winner between you and Rosado will get the fight in December. And they just me winning wasn't even on their mind. And I'm like, look, now y'all gotta honor y'all. You know what I mean? Like, yo, y'all threw me out there to the wolves, and I came back leading the pack. Now I honor the contract. You know what I mean? But I mean, that's my real reason for like super wanting, and not only wanting to fight against a skilled fighter and somebody I think I match up well with, but I mean, like I said, bet big, win big. You know what I mean? Don't put a guy in a no-win position and promise him all these things, and then he takes that 1% of possibly could win and turn that shit into a victory, and then you back out like, oh, nah. You know what I mean? Own up.
I mean, really, like I said, like when we last spoke, your name was set firmly in that hat. So did you have any talks beyond our last conversation? It was about a year and a half ago now.
From what I heard, they asked Canelo personally once he split from with Golden Boy and became like his own. From what I heard, it was 3 names that was in the hat. Then it was me. What's the guy he fought? Callum Smith,
Yeah.
and someone else. And they said the other guy, I forget the other name, but he was like, no, and then he was indifferent about me, like whatever. Like, oh, if you guys get him, whatever. It's not like he said I want him or I don't want him. They said he was just pretty much like, whatever. And then I guess Callum got it because the whole DAZN thing with them, you know, I mean, his deal wasn't the same after the pandemic. So I guess, you know, I mean, and I mean, Callum is champion. I don't have a belt. And on top of that, he's part of, you know, he's signed to Eddie Hearn and DAZN. So that made more sense. I'm not mad about that. I'm happy my name was in the hat, though. You know, to be an independent fighter, it's almost like being, you know, boxing's version of Nipsey Hussle. You know what I mean? To not be tied to any of these big guys, to have your own thing and still get nominated for a Grammy. You know, to be independent and get nominated for a Grammy off of, you know what I mean, the work you've put in. That's my blessing, you know what I mean? So did I get the Grammy nod or did I get the nod to fight Canelo? Nah, but to be mentioned in that category with what I've done alone, that was a blessing.
We're listening to your answer so far. It certainly seems like if an opportunity presented itself, you'd be more than happy to step into the ring with Canelo still. So with that in mind, let's say if that chance did arise, how confident are you that you would be the second man to be able to beat him, and certainly the first man at whether it be middleweight or super middleweight?
I'm ready. I'm ready. You guys, I mean, this is the story of my career. You know what I mean? I stay ready so I don't have to get ready. You know what I mean? Like the Triple G fight was given to me on, I think, a 5 or 6 week notice. You know what I mean? Like when Danny Jacobs fought Triple G, I think they announced it right before Christmas and they fought in March of next year. You know what I mean? So you get what I'm saying? You know, as in terms of time and allow time to be able to like process and get in there and fight a guy of that caliber. So nah, man, that's just the way the cookies crumble for me, and I've accepted that staying ready is what I have to do. So if they come up with something, I'm definitely ready, without a doubt.
I mean, just one name which you spoke about him earlier, Gabe Rosado. Of course, you beat him,
Mm-hmm.
but he's on a good little run at the minute of victories. Would you have any interest in rematching him just because of this run that he's on?
I mean, I'm like Canelo with that. I'm indifferent. Like if it were to happen, yeah. But if no, I wouldn't be bothered. But you know, what I mean, I've heard from different people that Gabe Rosado, you know, is connected to that. Like he just felt like he just never should have fought me. Like he just think it was a bad style matchup, you know, for him, which makes sense. You know what I mean? Gabe Rosado, you gotta give Gabe Rosado his props, right? Gabe Rosado to me, you know what I mean? And I know a lot of people may bash me when saying this. I'm not comparing him to this fighter, but in terms of temperament and just sheer heart, I kind of compare him to Felix Trinidad. Because Felix Trinidad was that guy that you wanted when you fought Trinidad, you had to sneak around and ease a win out of Trinidad. Because if you came in there and knocked him down or hurt him, then he got up and killed you. You know what I mean? You didn't want to upset him. So you look at all of these guys that Gabe Rosado's been in there, these power punchers, these knockout guys, and once they hurt him, he comes back and you look at me, I just picked him apart. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna do nothing too over the top, nothing too below. I'm just gonna ride that fine line. And it's hard for guys to do that. So and when you look at Gabe Rosado, that's not a fighter you want to upset. You know what I mean? You don't want to put him down or hurt him or put him in a no-win situation because he fights better from there. So I got to give him his props, man. And the fight that he just won, you know, Gabe Rosado, I think he hates me. Like he despises me. But I hate no one, you know, and it's still God bless him to this day. And I mean, I saw his knockout over that kid, and I mean, that's tremendous. I mean, like, I think boxing should start paying homage and allowing guys like a Gabe Rosado or myself who have, you know, 2-3 losses on their record, who have been up and down the meat skin a little bit, because that's going to create those exciting fights because they done been in there. We done been in there. You get these guys that you just been keeping undefeated over here fighting guys that we know they could beat. You know what I mean? You sort of just, you create a thin line of competition. You know what I mean? But if you get those guys in there that's been in there, that's been roughed up and been in those tough fights like a Rosado, you get surprises like the one we just got. Man, he did a phenomenal job. Sorry for rambling on. I just wanted to say that.
Not at all, Willie. Not at all. It's good to talk to somebody who's obviously as fluent with all of your answers. Just moving forward, though, I just want to get your thoughts on a couple of things. As we spoke about Canelo, he is due to face Caleb Plant in that undisputed bout in November. Just want to get your take on it. What do you think will happen? How do you think that fight will play out?
1 second. I'm sorry. I was checking the battery really quick. You know how iPhone is. My bad. You know what, man? I see every fight 50-50. I never really, you know what I mean, because you just don't know. Like we just alluded to. How many people were saying Gabe Rosado was gonna get finished by this dude, and he ended up knocking this guy out, like knockout of the year. So I always say that every fight is 50-50. Both of these guys have, you know, supposed advantages. You look at Canelo, obviously, I think Canelo has the explosive power, the body work advantage, you know what I mean, and the experience. Obviously has over 50 freaking fights. But I mean, you look at Caleb Plant, you're looking at a guy that's very confident, who has a very high skill set himself, comes in tremendous shape. So, you know, you look, if you say you go back, you look at old school fights.
Yeah.
If you go back and you watch the James Toney and Roy Jones fight, which is like my favorite fight, one of my favorite fights, like top 5 favorite fights. And, you know, Roy's my idol. You know, Roy is a little bit, I think he's a little bit younger than Tony, had less fights. You know what I mean? And everybody was just like, you know, Tony's power, he has speed too, his experience, you know what I mean? Roy's just not gonna be able to handle this. And, you know, all they felt like all Roy had was physical ability, but Roy had confidence. You get what I'm saying? Confidence plays a huge part in this, and Caleb Plant sounds 100% confident. And you have a guy that's real skilled, and if he's not confident in his skill, it'll show. You have a guy that's not that skilled, and he's very confident in what he does, and he can use that to actually win because he believes in it. And you taking a guy like Caleb Plant, who's actually very skilled and very confident, and if that confidence that he's been showing is true, Canelo could be in for a long night. So, I mean, when you balance those two, I mean, to me, it's 50-50. And I know, obviously, the first thing that jumps out is Canelo by KO, but you can't, like I just said, look what Rosado just did.
Willie, one final thing I want to get your thoughts on. Obviously, last night we saw a ring legend in Evander Holyfield stopped in the first round in his bout with Vitor Belfort. I just wanted to get your take on what was certainly, you know, as the hardcore boxing fans and just anybody who's followed the sport really was sad to see Evander lose in those circumstances.
First thing I would say, man, is I think boxing should stop being so greedy and selfish. You know what I mean? Like, they're willing to see people put their lives on the line, and there's so much animosity that goes into this thing, and people die in this thing every day. An 18-year-old girl just died in Canada. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean? You had one trainer on there with his female fighter. She was fighting somebody, and he was talking about she didn't fight Mexican style. We expecting her to come in here and do this. And then you look at this young Mexican girl that fought like that. She went over to Canada. She's 18 years old. Like, this is real. This isn't play. Like, people dying here. So I think they should be a little more cognizant about who they allow in the ring. Just because it's a name and it draws money, be careful about who you're allowing in the ring. You know what I mean? You have amateur fight. You have guys who have fought amateurs, won national titles, have done this thing since they were kids. And then you guys let a YouTuber get more money than this person. Not only is that a thing, it's not even so much about the money, because money come, money go. But a guy that's been doing it longer should deserve that type of seniority. And on top of that, these YouTubers, they haven't been taught over years how to roll with a punch, how to duck a punch. Just because they go in the gym and train next to Floyd Mayweather, or Floyd Mayweather gives them tips, that's like me sitting down with Dale Earnhardt Jr. and then being like, okay, now I'm the best NASCAR guy. No, I never driven. I've never drove a car. I've never got one of these things and driven. You know what I'm saying? Like, just because he showed me a few things doesn't make me a NASCAR driver. And they think that in this, you can die in this thing, man. These YouTubers better be careful. You've never taken a punch. You've never been taught how to properly take a punch. Your body hasn't been conditioned to take punches like this. And now people are making you believe you're an actual fighter. Then you call out an actual fighter, you get hurt and they're possibly killed. And everybody thinking it's fun. And it is fun. It's a great skill. It's an awesome art. But, like, let's try to keep it pure. Because if you guys keep bringing these older guys back, man, and they're hurting themselves, like, it should be someone. The reason these older guys are coming back is because boxing is like the Wild Wild West. It doesn't have a league like baseball, like football, like basketball. So guess what? When these guys retire, it's like retiring from working at the grocery store. You came in with what you left with, maybe less. You get what I'm saying? But like baseball, basketball, these guys have pensions. These guys have things set up, and I would encourage. Promoters won't tell guys this, managers won't tell guys this, but because I'm in financial services as a job outside of boxing, and this is stuff I went to school for, I would encourage every fighter that's listening to me that sees this interview, go get yourself a life insurance policy, man. Get yourself a life insurance, put some type of value on your life, because they're not going to put the value on your life. And I guarantee you, every fighter that has a promotional contract, look through your promotional contract. There's most definitely 99% of the time in any promotional contract, especially if there's some value on you, there's some type of life insurance policy, some type of group life job, some type of life insurance policy has been put on you if you have some type of value. So put a life insurance policy on yourself. You know what I mean? Because these promoters will do it, and they're not going to tell you that if something happened to you, they got a life insurance paid. That's their business. They don't have to tell you that. They poured out the policy. Be smart enough to put value on yourself, man, because a lot of these promoters, this is why I like Ryan. Ryan's one of the few guys in this business and then Split T who have a heart, you know what I mean, who sit down with these fighters and say, look, man, maybe you should take some time off. You know, it's been a little rough on you. You feel what I'm saying? Like the other day, just throwing these guys in there, go make this money. So that's my answer to this whole thing with Holyfield and them bringing YouTubers and stuff in. This is really not, listen, whatever a man wants to do, I can't stop a man from doing it. If you really think you can get in there and go big, bad, and bold with the best, knock yourself out. But there needs to be some accountability in the boxing world somewhere, to where we tell guys, the way they tell these NFL players that be trying to come back, look, it's just not safe. We're not going to let you do that. Not on our watch. Not just because you have a name and I may pocket an extra $15,000 when you get knocked out. That's not right. You know what I mean? Be realistic with these fighters, man. Let these fighters know. I'm here to let these fighters know. Hell, like I said, from what I heard, they're already trying to block me. What I got to lose? You know, so I'm gonna go ahead and give these fighters in the boxing world a true business. You know what I mean? Get a life insurance policy on yourself, man. And these fighters that have this money, man, find you somebody with a proper license, like a life insurance license or a Series 6 or a Series 26, and help you put your money away and do the right thing with it so you can live off of it, because this boxing business is here today, gone tomorrow. And they take these guys, man, and they make so much money off of them, the ratings that come in and stuff. And every time they play these guys fights over and over again, they're getting money for this, and they're sitting back eating like fat cats. And all the fighters can do is just sit back and say, hey, there go my glory days. Hey, look at me on TV. You get what I'm saying? So these fighters need to become more cognizant about this stuff. Read every little bit on that contract. When and I'm sorry, I know I'm going off into a long. You can short this. I'm giving you information, man. These fighters need to know. Look, man, when I couldn't afford a top lawyer to look over my contracts and stuff, me, my wife, and my brother, we would sit down over my contracts. We would pray over them. And then we would read through the contracts and try to put it together the best we could. And anything we couldn't understand, we would Google it. All of this stuff is available. All this information is available via internet. You get what I'm saying? We will Google it and find out the best ways and make sure. This is why I've been able to enter and exit certain situations with nothing really tied to me. You know what I mean? Now, I don't think this is fair. I don't think this is right. I think we should do this, because it's certain little moves you can make that'll keep you clean inside and out. And don't be so quick to jump to these contracts because of some money, because that money run out. I've made 6 figures right now. You feel what I'm saying? I've made more money in financial services and my internet business than I've made in boxing across the board. And I fought on HBO, Showtime, and stuff. You get what I'm saying? Let's teach these fighters how to get some brains, man. Take some time out, man. Get some brains. And I'm glad we did this interview. I know I'm going off on a tangent, and I know I'm talking, man, but I'm like, yo, we got to help these fighters, man, because it's painful to see. It's painful to see Evander Holyfield. That was painful to see. Evander Holyfield is probably my favorite heavyweight in the world next to Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali and Evander Holyfield are my 2 favorite heavyweights, top bar none. And to see him go out like that at 58, bro, this is a young man's sport. You know, there's guys that's in their late 30s that should be retired. Y'all brought a 58-year-old back. They should be put in jail.
Willie, it's been a pleasure to catch up with you today. We will leave it there. I'll leave you to get home to your wife and to your kids and to enjoy the rest of this Sunday. I appreciate your time. I'm sure I'll catch up with you soon. I look forward to hopefully hearing some fight news from you soon. Thank you for speaking to me and Boxing Social.
Absolutely, man. And apologies about the long-windedness, man.
Not at all. No, not at all. There's nothing to apologize for. It was great to catch up, mate. Have a good day.
Absolutely. God bless you, man. Thank you.